Well, a very good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Viking.TV. Well, I say good evening because I'm sitting talking to you from my home in London here. So wherever you are in the world, I hope you're all keeping safe and well. My name is Neil Barclay, and I'm based in Viking's London office, where I've worked for the past 11 years. And I'm absolutely delighted to be here today to talk to you about one of my favourite cruises and to one of my favourite destinations. And I have to apologise in advance because the word favourite is going to come up quite a bit during this presentation because it really is a spectacular destination. Now, throughout this live stream, there will be an opportunity to ask questions. So please send as many questions in as you can, and I'll certainly do my best to answer as many as I can. So I think it's about time we really sat back, relaxed, and went cruising virtually for the time being and headed off to Norway and went in search of the Northern Lights.
Immerse yourself in the spirit of the North on this illuminating 13-day voyage that includes 7 intriguing ports. Lands where dawn and twilight merge on the edges of a long Arctic night. Cruising far north in Norway's winter, you'll witness what few others see. Wondrous snow-dusted landscapes, cities hushed in slumber, and the luminous aurora borealis dancing in the sky. From London, you'll set out for Norway, across the North Sea. Waters often sailed by the original Vikings as they established colonies on Scottish islands, coastal France and beyond. You'll touch land again in Stavanger, step off your ship and into the heart of the Old Town, which has Europe's highest concentration of wooden buildings from the 17th and 18th centuries. Learn about one of Norway's most important industries, offshore oil drilling at the award-winning Norwegian Petroleum Museum. Or head into Lysefjord on an optional adventure to view the impressive Preikestolen, or Pulpit Rock, towering nearly 2,000 feet above you. Bodø, just north of the Arctic Circle, comes next. The city is home to the impressive Bodø Cathedral, with its beautiful organ and honeycomb bell tower. Bodø is also known for the impressive Norwegian Aviation Museum, a remarkable collection of historic civil and military aircraft. Then it's on to Tromsø, where an overnight stay is just what you need to grasp much of what this city and its dramatic surroundings have to offer. Set your sights on the stunning Arctic Cathedral with its striking triangular shape, or feel the wind in your face as reindeer or sled dogs pull you through a snowy wilderness. Alta, resting on the shores of the Alta Fjord, is the gateway to some of Europe's most magnificent natural beauty. With another overnight stay, you'll have time to embrace the stunning landscapes and the city's enduring culture. Contemplate the lives of the ancients, told in mysterious rock carvings at the Alta Museum. More than 6,000 etchings by the Komsa people, dating from 4200 BC to 500 BC. Or visit the nearby Sami community of Mase for an authentic lunch of local dishes and an exciting ride in a reindeer-drawn sleigh. And with Alta's frequent clear skies, it's an ideal locale from which to view the Northern Lights. You'll remain within the Arctic Circle at Narvik, situated on the innermost shores of the Ofotfjord. Learn more about the Vikings, who once called this ice-free harbour home, and of the turbulent days of World War II, when the Germans occupied Narvik, or engage with the region's long-standing residents, including the spirited Arctic wolves and the native Sami herdsmen, who weave winter tales by the glow of a wood fire. Your unforgettable exploration of Norway in winter concludes in remarkable Bergen. Delve into the iconic Bryggen Wharf, once part of the powerful Hanseatic League. Or go for a different vantage point, the top of Mount Ulriken, to savor majestic views of the 7 mountains that encircle Bergen. With an overnight stay, you can also mingle with the locals and perhaps sample aquavit as you explore the heart of this legendary city.
If you're looking to travel with Viking and thinking where's next on the bucket list, Norway should definitely be in your top 10, and Norway in the winter time especially. Our In Search of the Northern Lights cruises operate between January and March, and we're on sale for 2022 and 2023 departures. Now, currently, these voyages are scheduled to operate on board our brand new ship, the Viking Venus. And regulars to Viking.TV will know that broadcaster and journalist Anne Diamond, who hosts Thursdays on Viking.TV, is to be godmother of the Viking Venus. So you never know, you may just bump into her on board. If you think of Norway in the winter, thoughts may turn to how cold it's going to be, and how should I prepare for such a cruise like this? Well, it can be cold, especially as you get above the Arctic Circle, but it's a dry cold, and the main thing I've learned is to wear lots of layers to keep warm. There's a saying in Norway which you should really use as your mantra. There's no such thing as bad weather, only bad clothing. It's really hard to describe what makes winter in Norway so special. It could be the snow-capped mountains and the stunning fjords, or the thrill and excitement of going dog sledging and snowmobiling. Or maybe it's the tranquility of getting back on board the Viking ship, sitting in the Explorer's Lounge and wondering what's around the next corner as you watch the stunning coastline glide by out of the floor-to-ceiling windows. I love all of these, but for me, it's the anticipation of the ship travelling further north, above the Arctic Circle, hoping that Mother Nature will make an appearance and you can catch a glimpse of something that is going to stay with you forever, the Northern Lights. Northern Lights, aurora borealis, polar lights. There are several names for this natural phenomenon, but what exactly are they? Well, let me hand you over to Dr. Krupp, the director of Los Angeles' Griffith Observatory, to explain further.
A bridge of fire to the sky. That's what some of the Vikings believed the aurora borealis to be. And some say the Vikings thought the northern lights were the glow reflected off the armor of the Valkyries as they made their way toward the earth. Now, the Valkyries were armed warrior maidens, spirits on horseback, and they descended from Valhalla, the hero's palace in the celestial realm of the gods, to collect the souls of the most gallant and capable fighters. Now, on the other hand, the indigenous Sami people of Norway also revere the aurora borealis, and some of the Sami say the lights occur when magical fire foxes scamper across the horizon, sending sparks up into the sky. And in yet a different Sami tale, aurorae are the souls of dead maidens or deities. And the ancient native Russians liken the aurora to a summer thunderstorm, a winter version of power in the sky. They also see the lights as a battle between murdered spirits. And in yet another account, the lights are blood that is spilled when the sun's rays accidentally strike the body of a mysterious inhabitant of the sky and kill him. And in Labrador, the Inuit regard the northern lights as torches lit by spirits that live in the heavens beyond the hard dome of the sky. The light, they say, was for those who had recently died. Now, instead of folklore, Aristotle, the celebrated Greek philosopher, offered a physical explanation for the aurora. Heat from the sun, he argued, prompts vapors to rise from the earth, and at high altitude, the exhalations collide with fire, the element in that lofty realm, and burst into flames. The light from those flames is reflected and diminished by the air below and takes on the appearance of the northern lights, which Aristotle personally witnessed, probably around 349 BC. He called the aurora chasmata, or chasms. The Roman philosopher Seneca also had something to say about the aurora. The chasmata, or gulfs, he wrote, occur when the heavens seem to open up and to vomit flames, which before were hidden in its depths. And in any case, in classical antiquity, the lights were usually considered a sign of bad news. Now, at the end of the 2nd century BC, Pliny the Elder, the Roman encyclopedist, wrote, "There is no presage of woe more calamitous than a flame in the sky." Obviously, the aurora made people uneasy. Galileo, however, was the first person to apply the name aurora to the northern lights. Aurora is the Roman goddess of the dawn, and in 1619, Galileo used the term borealis aurora, or northern dawn, to describe the northern lights. He really didn't know what they were. He thought the aurora is produced by sunlight reflecting from the atmosphere. Not so right, but a game guess. Christian Birkeland, a Norwegian physicist, finally realized in 1896 that electrons streaming from the sun reach the Earth where they are trapped by the Earth's magnetic field and steered toward the poles. These are electrically charged subatomic particles. Now, extensive research in the 1950s began to explore his theories, but it wasn't until the early 21st century that scientists were able to prove what actually causes the aurora borealis. The northern lights are really the handiwork of these electrically charged particles ejected from the sun. About 2.2 billion pounds of this material blows away from the sun every second. This is the solar wind. These particles flow at between 620,000 and nearly 2 million miles an hour through interplanetary space. That's fast, but even at this speed, the electrons are not energetic enough to produce the aurorae when they reach the Earth. That happens only in the neighborhood of the Earth where the electrons are dramatically accelerated. They're caught by the Earth's magnetic field, which funnels them into the upper atmosphere near the poles, where they stimulate the auroral display. The northern lights' soft and hazy and dynamic glow occurs when electrons in the Earth's magnetosphere collide with oxygen and nitrogen molecules in our upper atmosphere. The ring-shaped area where this occurs is called the auroral oval. Keep in mind, the geomagnetic poles are different from the geographic poles, and the auroral oval is centered on the geomagnetic pole. The oval shifts and expands with changes in the solar wind, and the oval's broader on the night side of the Earth, so the aurora may be more active and wider spread at night. Now, the color is what really attracts people to the aurora. In a sense, the auroral displays appear in many colors. A pale green and pink are the most common, and the green light is produced by oxygen molecules. Rare, all-red aurorae are produced by oxygen at higher altitude, while nitrogen produces blue or purplish-red aurorae. Now, though in pictures the northern lights may often look like a static ribbon of light, they're really constantly changing when you see them in person. And the colors vary with the elements with which the particles collide and the altitude at which these collisions occur. The green light of oxygen typically appears about 60 miles above the Earth. Blue, purple, and violet tones may show above that height. Red is most likely to occur 150 or so miles above the surface of the Earth. But nonetheless, the human eye rarely detects these colors because the lights are so faint. Now, the best time to see the northern lights is when you, the magnetic pole, and the sun are all aligned. This is called magnetic midnight. And because the Earth's magnetic poles do not coincide with its geographic poles, magnetic midnight is approximately an hour earlier than midnight on the clock. Exactly when the lights make their quiet yet mesmerizing appearance is unpredictable, but to see them, it does have to be dark. The northern lights thrill the eye, they grip the heart, and they magnetically attract us to winter's darkness for a glimpse of the magic the ancients believed was afoot.
Although we can never guarantee a sighting of the northern lights, we can guarantee you one thing, and that's that you will never want to sleep on this voyage, just in case the northern lights make an appearance after hours. But at Viking, we have a solution to fix that technicality, and I'll tell you more about that later. With strong Norwegian heritage and with their ships flagged and registered with the Norwegian Maritime Authority, we are the Norwegian experts. In fact, you could say that Norway is Viking territory. At Viking, we really are the small ship experts, with our ocean ships carrying only 930 guests. With so much included in a Viking cruise, you don't really have to worry about much else once you've paid for your cruise fare. First of all our staterooms have private verandas. You'll have one complimentary shore excursion in every port of call. All on-board meals are included with regional specialities, free Wi-Fi, alternative restaurant dining at no extra charge, 24-hour room service, beer, wine and soft drinks with on-board lunch and dinner, no corkage fee, 24-hour speciality coffees, teas and bottled water, and you'll also have access to our top-rated spa and state-of-the-art fitness centre. All port taxes and fees are included, and if you purchase Viking Air, you'll also have your ground transfers included as well. With every aspect of the journey designed for the curious traveller, we really are the thinking person's cruise. At Viking, we really want you to discover the best that Norway has to offer, to get closer to the heart of the destination and really immerse yourself in Norwegian culture and heritage, both on board and ashore. To make the most of your cruise, we offer our cultural enrichment programme, which is available on every cruise. And these highlights include onshore exploration, including a shore excursion in each port of call, cultural curriculum, which includes inspiring lectures, wine tastings, live performances and local insights, Viking world-class lectures, which shed light on your destination, and personalising your journey. Our guest services staff is available to assist you plan your time and your destination so that you really get the most out of it. And go beyond the iconic, carefully curated optional tours, plus of course the Viking way of exploration. The Viking way allows you to immerse yourself in the destinations that you visit. Local life. These experiences provide fascinating insights that reveal the rhythms of daily living. Here in Norway, this could be a visit to a local Sami village to learn about indigenous Norwegian culture. Working world. On these excursions, you'll get a glimpse of the world at work, including local industries and arts and crafts. You'll see and understand local people anew. For example, visit one of Norway's few remaining textile centres and see how the iconic Norwegian sweaters are made. And of course, we have privileged access. Viking has arranged exclusive entry for our guests to discover local cultural treasures. These are experiences that are not open to the general public, and you'll not find them through any other cruise company. One such example is enjoying a private evening concert in Tromsø's most celebrated venue, the starkly beautiful and stunning Arctic Cathedral. Let's now take a closer look at the 13-day Northern Lights voyage, which takes you from Bergen in the southern half of Norway, heading north above the Arctic Circle as far as Alta, and then back to London. Or of course you can do this in the reverse direction. You'll have 6 guided tours included, and we have a wide choice of optional shore excursions, so you can customise your experience to get the best that Norway has to offer. We have multiple overnights in Bergen, Alta and Tromsø. This is really unique as it allows you to immerse yourself in the destination, get closer to the Norwegian way of life, and take part in a whole host of optional excursions so you can really discover the real Norway. You'll also enjoy sea days in both the North Sea and the Norwegian Sea, and these sea days allow you time to really get to know your ship and experience all the facilities we have on offer. You'll have time to enjoy the artwork on the ship, curated books in the library from our friends at Haywood Hill, cocktails from the bar, shopping, a swim in our heated infinity pool, and of course, who can resist relaxing in the spa? And that must include a visit to our snow grotto, which is only found on Viking ocean ships. Your journey, of course, can begin before you board your Viking ship, and we're delighted to offer pre and post extensions in Norway, England or Iceland. Before joining the cruise in Bergen, I'd recommend you book one of our pre-extensions in either Bergen, where you can enjoy a 2-night hotel stay and roam independently around this easy-to-navigate city, or a 2-night stay in Oslo, Norway's capital, where you can discover true Nordic culture. So why would I recommend a pre-extension? Well, first of all, it gives you the opportunity to experience some new destinations, but it also gives you the chance to recharge your batteries, especially if you've arrived from a long-haul flight. You can get acclimatised prior to boarding the ship. Now, transfers are included in all pre-extensions if you have booked your air through Viking. If you choose to join the ship on day 1 in Bergen, we'll meet you at the airport, transfer you for around 45 minutes until you reach your ship. Now, once on board and settled into your veranda stateroom, the rest of the day and the evening is yours to explore as we stay overnight in this beautiful city. In Bergen, the ship is docked in a very central location next to Bryggen Wharf, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, with its Hanseatic buildings, and from there it's an easy stroll along the waterfront to take you into the centre of town. Now, I mentioned previously it's one of my favourite cities for several reasons, but one of them is due to the setting. You have these majestic mountains, including the imposing Mount Floyn, where you can walk or take a funicular railway to the summit, depending on how energetic you feel at the time. And it offers striking views over the city, the fjords and the glaciers. And it's a very compact city, so it's easy to stroll around independently on foot. Just looking around, you'll quickly understand why Bergen inspired the Viking sagas. Let's have a look at a short video so you can discover why Bergen will become one of your favourites as well.
Bergen, Norway's legendary seaport. A city so rich in colours and textures that even the manhole covers are worth a look. The Bryggen, which means the pier, is iconic. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site and a great place to introduce yourself to Norway. The Hanseatic Museum, also on the pier, is fascinating and provides an unusual window into the world of the 12th century, when German trading companies played a significant role in shaping the growth of Bergen. Just a few steps away is the fish market. Locals call it the Fisketorget, and it's definitely worth a look. It's also a great place to learn the finer points of peeling shrimp, like a Norwegian. And if you're extremely lucky, you may just run into the mayor herself. Bergen was also home to the renowned composer Edvard Grieg, who created some of the greatest music of the 19th century. A visit to Trollhaugen, the museum that was his home, is a touching experience and gives you a better understanding of the man and what inspired him. On the island of Lysøyen is another Norwegian treasure, the former home of violin virtuoso and composer Ole Bull. He designed the villa himself, and it clearly reflects his individual character and his fascination with world cultures. The Bergenhus fortress is home to two of the most imposing structures in Bergen, Håkonshall and the Rosenkrantz Tower. Surprisingly, neither are of Norwegian design. For that, you'll want to explore the quintessentially Norwegian, intricately detailed Farntoft Stave Church. It's a special experience, as there are now just a handful of stave churches left in Norway. Or take the Fløibanen to spectacular views. Bergen sits among 7 mountains, and the name itself came from the Norwegian word berg, which means small mountain. Bergen is a wonderfully diverse city, which might just make your favourites list. Let us share with you the nature, character and people of our beautiful homeland.
Dear Viking guests, it is a pleasure and an honor to wish you all warmly welcome to my wonderful city, Bergen, Norway.
On to your second day in Bergen. After breakfast on board, whether that be in Mamsen's, the World Cafe or breakfast in bed, take in more of the city's charm on an included tour. Our panoramic Bergen tour takes you on a relaxing excursion by luxury motor coach as you tour the main sites such as King Haakon's Hall, the Rosencrantz Tower, the picturesque wooden buildings at Bergen, and the bustling fish market, along with the Nordnes Peninsula with its 19th century white painted wooden houses. We also have two optional excursions. We have Dala of Norway, a living museum, and this is part of our Work and World programme, where you visit one of Norway's few remaining textile centres and see how the iconic Norwegian sweaters are made. I want to highlight this optional excursion, which takes you to the home of Norway's famed composer Edvard Grieg. His home in Trollhaugen is in a spectacular setting, and you can really understand why this area inspired him so much. You will also enjoy a recital of some of the most famous pieces, along with visiting Fantoft Stave Church, a remarkable wooden church built in traditional style. After experiencing Grieg's home in Bergen, you'll have the opportunity to enjoy more music by Grieg and other Norwegian composers during Munch Moments. At 6 p.m. every night on board your ship in the living room, the fantastic Viking classical trio will play for you, and you can enjoy a pre-dinner cocktail listening to music and marvelling at the masterpieces of Edvard Munch, which are featured on the atrium screen. This evening, we continue our overnight voyage north towards Narvik. Sailing on and day 4 arrives, where we reach land again in Narvik, home to a former Viking settlement. It's nestled inside a fjord, surrounded by 360-degree breathtaking mountainous views. Now, during your visit, you'll learn how the ice-free port helped the town prosper as an exporter of Swedish iron ore. At the Polar Park, you can view some of the residents of the far north, including Arctic wolves. Now, to learn more about Norwegian culture and experience, you might also enjoy the wilderness during a sleigh ride or meet the native Sami people. Whilst in Narvik, we have several excellent tours. One of the included tours is Panoramic Narvik, where you enjoy a panoramic tour of Narvik, marvelling at the impressive mountain backdrop and views over the fjord. We also have a couple of optional excursions. One is visiting with wolves. This is a really unique excursion where these wolves have been raised by humans and they're accustomed to visitors, so it does make for a remarkable photo opportunity. It's a 6-hour, once-in-a-lifetime natural world tour. One of my personal favourites is snowmobiling, and you can go snowmobiling through the winter landscapes, where you really get into the great outdoors, you get close to nature, and you also have an exhilarating snowmobile tour through the Arctic tundra. Day 5 arrives and we're in Alta. We're now above the Arctic Circle, and there are great opportunities to go in search of the Northern Lights. This is the first of 2 days in Alta, and you can really discover everything that Arctic Norway has to offer, including a whole host of optional winter activities. Here you'll have opportunities to discover the stunning shores of Alta Fjord and the clear skies that make it ideal viewing for the Northern Lights. You'll spend the night in port, which maximises your time and gives you the opportunity to participate in several different shore excursions in the morning, in the afternoon, and late into the evening. In the morning, you may choose an included tour, the City of Northern Lights, where you visit the Alta Museum, where you'll see 7,000-year-old rock carvings. Now, would you believe we have 16 optional tours for you to choose from to make the most of your time in the Arctic, including 2 really unique experiences where you actually stay off the ship for the night. One of them is a stay in the Igloo Hotel. And I've stayed here in the Igloo Hotel myself before, and it's definitely a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Please don't be put off by the thought of a hotel made of ice and snow and how cold it's going to be, as you have reindeer skins to keep you warm and snug. And another optional excursion is a night with the Huskies, where you learn more about the life of the husky dog Musher and stay overnight in a wood stove heated teepee. If you prefer your home comforts being back on board your ship, we have some evening optional tours available, including exquisite fine dining and dog sled ride. This is where you enjoy an evening of fine dining at a local farm, capped with a dog sled ride beneath the stars. Or you have the Northern Lights Cathedral and private recital, which is part of our privileged access programme.
where you enjoy a private recital in one of Alta's most striking modern landmarks, along with a guided tour. Day 6 of the journey arrives and we're on our final day in breathtaking Alta. You may wish to explore the town on your own, perhaps visiting the Northern Lights Cathedral, admire its fascinating steeple designed to resemble a flame, and enjoy the elegant strains of its organ, or venture out on an optional excursion. Just a short drive from the ship, you can take part in the Arctic Landscapes by Husky excursion, where you're pulled by a team of lively huskies across the wilderness. Alternatively, take part in classic Nordic skiing, where you experience winter in true Nordic fashion on cross-country skis. Now, as I mentioned earlier, you will not want to go to sleep in case the Northern Lights make an appearance. But don't worry, you're with Viking, so we've thought of everything. We'll provide an optional wake-up call available throughout the night, so you never miss an opportunity to see the aurora in all its splendour. Now, to get the best view of the Northern Lights, you should try and be away from any artificial light, whether that be in the wilderness hunting the lights or actually on board your Viking ship. As you can see from this image, when the light comes out to play, some of the best views can be seen from on board. Now it's day 7 of the journey and we've arrived in Tromsø. This is the midway point of your journey, so welcome to Tromsø, another of my firm favourites. And one of the reasons being it's the first time I ever spotted the Northern Lights 9 years ago. We're still inside the Arctic Circle, and here you enjoy 2 days in the lovely setting of Tromsø's historic centre, spread over a scenic island surrounded by snow-capped peaks. And where the ship docks, it's only a short stroll to take you into town. Now, we have an included excursion in Tromsø called Panoramic Tromsø, and that's where you witness the unique structures and natural beauty of Tromsø amid its stunning island setting and winter landscapes. On an included tour along heated sidewalks installed to keep the snow at bay, admire its blend of wooden structures and neoclassical buildings. We also have a variety of optional excursions in Tromsø. One of them is the Arctic Cathedral private concert, which is privileged access to Viking. And that's where you enjoy a private evening concert in Tromsø's most celebrated venue, the starkly beautiful Arctic Cathedral, and the acoustics in the cathedral really are out of this world. The other one is the lifestyle of the Sami, which is part of our local life programme. And that's where you take a reindeer ride through the snow-covered countryside and share fireside stories with your Sami hosts. Day 8 arrives, and after breakfast on board, enjoy another day to immerse yourself in the natural beauty and rich culture of Tromsø. You might set off into Norway's pristine wilderness on a glacier trek in the Alps. Alternately, learn about the aurora borealis and the indigenous cultures of northern Norway from experts at the Tromsø University Museum, or pay a visit to the world's northernmost brewery, the Mack Brewery. Today there are a few optional excursions to choose from. Experience local life on Sumarøy Island Sojourn, where you discover what it takes to be a fisherman at the edge of the world and enjoy some local hospitality. Another one I'd recommend is Home Visit in the Lyngen Alps, again part of our local life experiences, where you experience life in the Lyngen Alps region of Norway during a home visit with a local family. Or, for something more energetic, sail in search of the aurora borealis. You set sail from Tromsø and keep watch for the northern lights as you race across the water by catamaran. Day 9 arrives and we reach the lovely city of Bodø, home to a masterful cathedral. Now, Bodø lies just north of the Arctic Circle and was rebuilt to what you see today after its destruction in World War II. The included excursion we have is Panoramic Bodø, where you discover the history of Bodø while taking a scenic drive through the city. You see the Customs House, Norwegian Aviation Museum and Gothic Bodø Cathedral, with its 10 glorious tapestries from Nordland. Its melodious church bells ring out over the town every hour. An optional excursion is Bodø Cathedral Concert, which is privileged access, where you should join us on an inspiring evening choir concert at Bodø Cathedral, accompanied by its impressive organ. Another optional excursion is to the Norwegian Aviation Museum, where you should set your sights skyward, and it's where the museum chronicles Scandinavia's military and aviation history. It's time to board your ship again as we set sail south towards Stavanger. We cruise the Norwegian Sea, and again you have the perfect opportunity to relax and enjoy your ship after all the activity of the Arctic. Take the time to relax with a treatment in the spa. Experience the hot and cold, light and dark Nordic bathing ritual. Perhaps you'd like to attend a lecture, a Viking historian roundtable discussion, to learn about how the Norwegian Sea has been culturally important to Northern Europeans for centuries. Learn more about the life of the Vikings and visit the Viking Heritage Centre on board your ship. Discover the art collection using the Viking Voyager app, or simply grab a coffee, sit back and enjoy that book that you've never got round to reading yet. Day 11 arrives and we're in Stavanger in the southern part of Norway. In the heart of the old town known as Gamle Stavanger, you'll discover Europe's highest concentration of 17th and 18th century wooden buildings. The included excursion today is Panoramic Stavanger, where you discover historic landmarks around the city during a scenic drive, then learn about Norway's petroleum industry. The optional excursions are a Stavanger home visit, part of our local life programme, where you learn about Norwegian traditions and way of life from those that live here during this warm and personable home visit. Another is Fjord Foray by Rib, where you speed through the fjords like a Viking seafarer in a rigid inflatable boat, or rib, getting as close as possible to the steep sides of the fjord. The final optional excursion is the Pulpit Rock Cruise, and no visit to Stavanger area would be complete without a visit to the famous Pulpit Rock. Day 12 arrives, and sadly we're now heading towards the end of the voyage as we cruise the North Sea. Now, the North Sea has long been central to Europe's history, from Viking settlement and medieval trade to international war and modern-day oil production. Some of the continent's most pivotal moments have unfolded on this stage. Learn more about this body of water during an enriching lecture. Whilst on board, relax with a traditional afternoon tea in the winter garden. Now, the onboard shops will be open all day. If you've had your eye on that Dala Norway sweater, now's the time to make the purchase. It's the last chance to enjoy one of my favourite places on board, and it's one of the Norwegian specialities at Mamsen's, and I definitely recommend the waffles made from a homemade recipe. A Viking cruise is really about meeting people, making new friends and contacts. So what better way to wind down the end of the cruise than to meet your newfound friends in Tórshavn while listening to the Viking band and enjoying your favourite cognac. Day 13 arrives, and here we are. It's the end of the voyage. You have arrived in Tilbury, a historic town in the north bank of the Thames River. Now, we offer a pre and post extension in all these great locations that you can see, a fitting way to extend your journey just that little bit longer. Whatever you choose to do at the end of the cruise and return home, it is time to say goodbye to your ship and goodbye to your crew. It's never easy to say goodbye, especially when you've experienced something that will live with you forever. The culture, the traditions of the serenity of the ship, the amazing crew, and of course the memories of being able to go in search of the Northern Lights. Thank you very much for watching this presentation, and I do hope it's inspired you a little bit to think about doing a cruise in search of the Northern Lights. I'm now available to try and answer as many of your questions as I possibly can. Thanks again for watching.
Hello again. I hope you enjoyed that short presentation. There's only so much that you can try and pack into around 30 minutes or so, and it's really just to give you a brief overview of my view of the Northern Lights anyway, so I hope it's given you a little bit of inspiration. But we've had quite a few questions coming through from all over the world, and quite a few from the States. We've got a couple from New Zealand, one or two from the UK, so I'm going to do my best to try and answer as best as I can, really, to answer any questions that you've got on going in search of the Northern Lights. So Where will we start? Well, let's go over to Rhondda in Daytona Beach in the States and see what Rhonda's saying. So, are the short excursions on this itinerary strenuous, particularly when we're attempting to see the Northern Lights? Well, the great thing is with our excursions, Rhonda, is that we actually grade them into sort of 3 different categories. And then you can really work out for yourself, is this going to be too strenuous? Do I feel comfortable doing this level activity? Or do I maybe want to just go for an easier option, really? So don't worry too much about that, and don't sort of get too hooked up at, is it going to be too energetic? Because we've got an excursion to suit everybody. But for an example, if you were going for hunting the light in Alta, for example, hunting the light in Alta, it's about a 4-hour excursion, and it's a medium level excursion, which means that there is walking involved, but it's not too strenuous. Just pack some good walking boots, and then you're ready to go. And you know, I did speak in that presentation a lot about optional excursions. And remember, obviously, with Viking, you know, we're one of the very few cruise lines that will include an excursion in every port of call. And it's entirely up to you if you want to do an excursion. You might want to sit on the ship and, you know, just take in the local culture, or, you know, wait on the Northern Lights come out for when you're on the ship. But what I would probably say is, you know, how many times are you going to be in this part of the world? You might think, you know, Northern Lights bucket list, once I want to travel up there. And there's must-do things that you would like to see. So personally, if I'm on a voyage, you know, of this duration, I might say, right, I would like to do, maybe I've always wanted to go dog sledging or snowmobiling, or hunting the light sounds really good, or the Igloo Hotel is great. And maybe just book a couple of the must-dos and then see how you feel on board. So the choice is completely down to you. Hopefully I've answered that as truthfully as I can. We've got one come through from Susan. I'm not sure where Susan is, but hello, Susan. What do you recommend for off-ship footwear? When I travel up to Norway, I take a pair of Timberland boots with me, actually, because they've got a good grip on them. So just something with sort of sturdy footing, you know, a pair of boots. You know, if you've got hiking boots, then that's all well and good. But also remember, though, when you're below the Arctic Circle, so when you're in, say, Bergen or Stavanger, it's not Arctic weather. It can be quite mild in the winter, actually. And sometimes there's not a lot of snow on the ground, if any. So you actually just maybe need, again, sturdy shoes, or, you know, a good pair of trainers or something really comfortable, because you are going to be walking, you'll be wanting to do as much on foot as you can, really. And a lot of the towns in Norway, and certainly around Bergen, are cobbled. So as long as you've got good grip shoes on, that's all I would say. So pack for all seasons, as they say. Right, so they're coming in thick and fast here, so you'll have to bear with me while I go through them. We've got Jean in Leesville. How do you pack all your clothes for such a cold climate? Pack in layers. I wouldn't personally pack big bulky items, because it'll just take up room in your suitcase and increase your luggage allowance. But actually, pack in layers. And remember, when you're going on the excursions, you actually get the outdoor wear included when you're doing the excursion. So don't pack snowsuits and, you know, big heavy items of outdoor wear. You know, pack what you would normally pack for a normal cruise with a few more layers. Maybe pack a fleece, take a fleece with you. You know, a good winter jacket if you've got one, or just something with layers, really. But don't pack anything heavy, because on the excursions, especially when you're going out into the wilderness, you will get your snowsuits and everything included. So hopefully that's answered your question, Jean. Right, we've got John over in the States. We're back over to the States. Not sure where you are, but hello, welcome to Viking.TV. Is there a list of the excursions and prices available? Well, actually, on our website, we've got a list of all the excursions that you can do when you're, you know, before you actually travel. And on My Viking Journey, which is the app that we have, which you can detail and chronicle your journey before you actually travel. There's a lot of information on there. and it also tells you when you can book them, when you get access to book these excursions. Failing that, certainly our guest services, customer relations team will be happy to assist with any pricing that you've got. Our pricing structure for excursions, they're suited for all pockets. If you, from memory, and I'm probably getting caught out here actually, but I think the Igloo Hotel, for example, is in pounds, it's something around the £330 mark. But then you've also got excursions that start at, say, again, I'm talking in pounds, £29, so maybe sort of $40 or $45 or so. So as well as, remember, you've got all your included tours. But certainly head on the website, call our guest services team, and we'll be happy to assist with the pricing for you. Where are we? Sorry, I'm just having to go down my screen here, so bear with me a little second there. Right, this is an interesting one from Hunt in St Simons. During winter, isn't it dark most of the time? And that's a really good question, because there is this perception, I'm travelling up to the Arctic, I'm going up to Norway during the winter months, it is going to be very dark. I'm actually going to see anything. I've been lucky enough to go up to Norway several times in November, December, right through to March. And you know, when you look at daylight hours, you know, January, north of the Arctic Circle, there isn't a great deal of light. You'll maybe start to get maybe 2 or 3 hours towards the end of January, increasing as you go through February and March. But, you know, I've been up there in March before, and I have had picture postcard weather. It's been blue skies, it's been sunshine. You've got the glare coming off the snow, and you need your sunglasses. It's a phenomenal time. But even when it's dark, and it's really hard to describe, and I know there's probably a Norwegian word for it, and I want to say borealis, like polar light. But when you're on the ship looking ashore, there's this sort of greeny, bluey light that you see. So it's not completely dark. You see, you know, when you're on the ship looking ashore, or you come into shore, you see all the lights glistening. You see the different sort of colours. I'm not describing it very well, but yes, it's dark, but don't expect to go up there and not see anything, because you have got this beautiful light. So please don't be put off by that at all. Where are we going? Gary, is it a dry cold or damp cold during the voyage? Dry cold, Gary. That's the best way to describe it. Erica in San Antonio, how many excursions can you do in a day? It really depends how long you're in port. So say if you're in Bergen, Tromsø or Alta overnight, well, in Alta, for example, you've got up to 16 excursions. On an overnight stay, I'd probably say you could fit in around 4, maybe sort of 4 or 5 excursions. You can maybe do the included tour to give you a real feel for the area. Maybe do an outside adventure in the afternoon and go hunting the light in the evening, and then one or two to the following day. So where you're docked overnight, you have got the opportunity to do multiple excursions. When you're in port for a day, you know, maybe you dock at 8 in the morning and then you're leaving at 6 p.m. You could have your included tour, which is generally around a 2.5 or 3 hour excursion, and then you've generally got time to do one other excursion in the afternoon. So there's plenty of choice. Please remember, though, you're on, you know, the most beautiful ocean ships in the world, and you know, I'll say that from the bottom of my heart. I get withdrawal symptoms when I come off a ship and I have to go back to the office. I'm well enough now, actually, because I'm thinking about it so much. But you actually want to spend time on the ship, because they are absolutely stunning, and it really gives you like a warm Nordic feeling. So please bear that in mind. Excursions are great, but the ship is fantastic. Where are we now? Let's go to Mary in Chicago. Hello, Mary. Where's my places? My favourite places to visit? Tromsø. I absolutely love Tromsø. Paris of the North. And it was because it was the first place that I managed to see the Northern Lights. And in my presentation, I said 9 years ago, but it was actually 13 years ago that I went up to Tromsø and seen the Northern Lights. And you know, the Northern Lights are spectacular. If you've never seen the Northern Lights, it's something that is going to stay with you forever. And I keep pulling out my camera, because obviously I never had an iPhone, 13 years ago. So I go back to my camera, and the photographs that I managed to get of the Northern Lights were absolutely stunning. And it's quite an interesting, well, I find it interesting story. It was quite a fun story actually, but I was up there with a group of people, and we were in Tromsø actually, and we just done a tour up to a place called the Villmark Centre, which is around 45 minutes outside Tromsø. And we went dog sledging, and it was perfectly picture postcard clear night to try and see the lights. And we got back to the hotel, and we were so disappointed because we never managed to see the lights, and that was perfect conditions. And that's a chance that you take on this cruise, unfortunately. But we were in the hotel, we were having a drink, and then one of our group went outside and said, the lights are out, the lights are out. So obviously all us British got up and we ran out to try and see these Northern Lights, and all the Norwegians just stayed seated, continuing their drinks as if nothing had ever happened, because it's like second nature to them, because they see them so often. But that's an everlasting memory. So Tromsø is definitely my favourite place up in Norway, and Bergen obviously, and I do like Alta as well. So there's a few there. Right, where are we heading off to now? Let's have a look. Sorry, just give me a second. Susan in the US, can you see the Northern Lights from the igloo or teepee, or is it better to stay on the ship? Again, we can never guarantee the lights, but you can see them from the igloo and the teepee or on board the ship. And like I mentioned in the presentation there, actually, and you've seen from some of the stills, that they switch the lights off on the ship. So the Northern Lights do come out, away from artificial light. So you have got a really, really good opportunity to try and see the Northern Lights from the ship. So, don't worry too much about that. And also remember, don't set your alarm, but if you tell guest services that you want a wake-up call, should the aurora make an appearance, then remember and do that, please. So that you'll get woken up at 2 o'clock in the morning, like it or not, when the Northern Lights hopefully come out. Right, where are we going? Sorry, just bear with me a second. Sorry, I've got Kirsten in, I want to say Edina over in the United States. What town in Norway has the best view of the Northern Lights and why? Really, most towns above the Arctic Circle, but I'd probably say Alta. Alta's a good spot. I mean, it's called really the Northern Lights capital of Norway, so that's definitely a good spot to try and see it. And it's really partly due to the wide open spaces that you get up in that location. So that's certainly one that I would consider as one of the best places to try and see the Northern Lights. Where are we? David in Sedona. How do we get Arctic clothes? So obviously Arctic clothes, a lot of the big retailers throughout the world will sell Arctic clothes in advance of you traveling. But as I mentioned earlier, remember when you're on these excursions, you get your clothes provided. So if you're doing dog sledging or snowmobiling or overnight in the ice hotel, then you'll have your winter wear provided. But just as I said, pack layers. It's all about layers. And I know I keep referring to above the Arctic Circle and we're concentrating on weather, but it can be particularly mild when you're below the Arctic. One thing I'll probably mention actually is when you're on the ship, back to my favourite subject of these ships, You know, but when you're sitting in the explorer's lounge and you're looking at whatever is out the window and sort of coming up next on the journey, anybody that's been on our ocean ships, in the explorer's lounge outside, there's a veranda area. So if there's something of interest, whether it's at land, at sea, or in the sky, you know, and you're having a drink and enjoying the classical trio or the guitarist, always take a jacket up with you, regardless if you have any intention of going outside or not, because you can run out the front and you can really spot the northern lights if they come out just from in front of the explorer's lounge. So that's the great thing about our ships. Again, anybody that's travelled with us, that we've got so much outdoor space. You know, you go on some cruise ships and you can barely see the sea. You know, you travel with Viking, you've got these, every cabin or every stateroom, sorry, has got a veranda. You've got the promenade deck on deck 2. That's outdoor space that you can walk around. If you're up on deck 7 on the Explorer's Lounge, you've got the veranda area at the front. You head up to deck 8 and you've got the deck space out there. But it can get, you know, it's open to the elements, so pack a wind cheater anyway. Where are we? Sorry, just bear with me a second. Andy, we're heading over to New Zealand now. I'm not sure what time it is in New Zealand, Andy, but welcome and thanks very much for watching Viking TV. Which side of the ship is the best view? Sorry, which side of the ship gets the best view of the lights, or is both sides equally as good as the other? I'd really say both sides are as good as the other. You know, travelling northbound from Bergen, our port side, you know, it's your preference whether you like port or starboard. I quite like port side actually, because I like to see what's going on. But you know, it really doesn't matter where you are on the ocean ship because there is so much outdoor space. So really don't worry too much about that. I really like when you go on one of our river ships. When you think of the river ships, you've got the aquavit terrace at the front of the ship. On the ocean ships, you've got the aquavit terrace at the back, and you've got all this deck space. So even on a river, you better be on one side of the ship or the other. Makes no difference because you've got all this outdoor space. Where are we? Paula in the States, bucket list to see the lights. Well, Paula, I would recommend that you fulfill your bucket list and book a In Search of the Northern Lights cruise, travelling in January to March next year, or January to March in 2023. One question that has came up quite a lot actually is, when is the best month to see the Northern Lights? You know, well, first of all, the question that comes up is, can you guarantee to see the Northern Lights? And we can't. And it's a risk that you take, whether you do or whether you don't see them. And unfortunately, at Viking, we're not in control of that, but we are in control of how fantastic a time you will have on board your ship. I like March. I like March because it's generally clearer days and blue skies, but then also like the real winter months like January, when you get a really true taste of the Arctic. Right, where are we? Sorry. You'll have to bear with me with my technology tonight. Barry in Sarasota. Hi, Barry. When the Northern Lights come out, do they last long or just a flash? That's a bit of a, you know, it's either or. You know, sometimes you can see the Northern Lights and blink and they're gone, you know, sort of 10, 15 seconds later. And other times you can have the most spectacular display that you've ever seen in your life, which can go on for, you know, for 15, 20 minutes or so. So it's a tricky one to answer that. But I think if you do get a sighting of them, regardless if it's of a minute or if it's up to sort of 30 minutes or beyond, you'll never forget it. Where are we? Let me see, where are we? Sorry. I'll get to another question shortly, so you've no time to nip to the kitchen to make a coffee, because I'll be getting to the next question very, very shortly. One from Robert. What are the average daily temperatures for this winter cruise? It can be quite mild in the south, you know, sort of maybe, I mean, sort of plus 6, 7, 8 degrees, maybe -5 plus above the Arctic. It does get obviously colder than that, but as I said, it's a dry cold in the north, and with layers you generally don't feel the cold too much. I'm from Scotland, and I moved to London 21 years ago now, for slightly warmer weather. And Scotland's actually not that cold a place, so Norway, you're absolutely fine. Let's see, we've got Christian in Kansas. Is there a specific time of year that we would more likely to see the Northern Lights? Generally the winter months, say November through to March, because it's darker and generally it's clearer. If you want the other extreme, midnight sun, travel in the summer. We do a fantastic voyage called Into the Midnight Sun, which huglands the coastline of Norway, leaving from Greenwich in London, right the way up the coastline of Norway as far as Tromsø and back to Bergen, or operating in reverse. So if you think you want long daylight hours, then I would definitely look at the Midnight Sun cruise, which operates in the key summer months, sort of July, August time. And we've got 2022 and 2023 out there. What is the rest time? Sorry. How many cruises operate where we've not seen the lights? You know, there are, like I said, there are cruises that operate where you don't see the lights, but you do get the fantastic Arctic, Norway extremes. And of course, I mean, I would probably say that if you do one voyage with us in search of the Northern Lights and you're unfortunate not to see the Northern Lights, there's always next year. Book another one. Right, where are we? Sorry. One from Francine over in the States. Are you booking 2023 now? Yes, we are. We've got 2023 on sale, and scheduled to operate on the Viking Venus, the brand new ship, sailing January to March. You know, I mentioned earlier that we operate this itinerary in either direction. So you can leave London or Tilbury, which is from Heathrow, about an hour and a half transfer to get you from Heathrow down to Tilbury to join the ship and then to Bergen, or you can do it in reverse. And there's no real difference what way you operate it. And if you go in one direction rather than the other, you find that you're maybe slightly longer in port on some of your overnight stays, but it's such a minor difference that there's no real issue on either of them, really. Can you cross-country ski on an excursion? You can do the Nordic skiing, so that's certainly a possibility. That's Roger. Thanks for that message, Roger. Right. Here we go. We've got one from Mary over in the States. Hi, Mary. Do you need to make a reservation to use areas of the spa that are available to guests at no additional charge? This is one of the beauties of traveling with Viking, that we have absolutely no charge for using the spa facilities. Now, if you think of some cruise lines, and you know that there is the famous expression about nickel and diamond, when you're on board certain cruise lines, you know, you've always got the photographer chasing you, you're always getting excursions sold to you. There's you know, charges for going to the alternative restaurants. The best food on our ship should always be in the main restaurant. That's what's been taught to us, and it's absolutely right. If you travel with us, the best food is in the main restaurant, and the other dining options are only alternative. So when you look at the spa, we charge nothing, not a dime to use the spa facilities. The only charge that you'll have is if you're wanting to do a spa treatment. So you might want a massage on board, you might want to do the Nordic ritual. Just to explain the Nordic ritual, and I'm no expert at this, although I have done the Nordic spa ritual when I've been in the spa. And you take advantage of everything that is in the spa. And there is a small charge for this actually, but it's well worth the money. And you really get taught how all the elements work. From the infused snowball that sort of rubbed over your body in the snow grotto to going into the steam room, from the hot to the cold. It really it's a spectacular experience, and birch leaves are used in part of the treatment as well. But you come out of, that's one that you really need to have to pre-book because it gets booked up quite quickly. But I'd recommend, if you're spending some time in the spa, book the Nordic spa ritual. Generally takes place at around 7 o'clock in the evening when the spa's quiet and it's only a small group of people that's actually using taking advantage of that facility. But I went off on a tangent there. I'm really sorry. But to answer your question, there's no charge to use the spa facilities. So that's the plunge pool in the changing room. You've got the sauna. You've got the steam room. We've got the snow grotto. You've got the hydrotherapy pool. And if you really want to be woken up in the morning, we have the ice bucket, which is freezing cold water, which will really invigorate you and liven you up and get ready for the day ahead when you're going out in the Arctic to discover the Northern Lights. Where are we now? Let's what side of the world shall we head over to? Sue in Franklin. Quite a practical question there, Sue. Sorry, you've just disappeared from my screen. Just give me a second. Would it be better to bring traveller's checks, credit card, or exchange cash for currency? We don't have exchange facilities on board the ship. So if you're on board the ship, everything's by credit card, which is really the easiest option. Traveller's checks are a good, safe way to take currency abroad. But credit cards are so widely used. Take your credit card. Just double check with your bank about charges, because some bank will charge if you're using your credit card when you're overseas. But credit cards are really safe and easy way to pay for things when you're overseas, Scandinavia, Europe. So that's my recommendation anyway. Kathleen in San Francisco. Where's your favourite brewery on this itinerary and what's the name of it? Well, up in Tromsø, you've got the Mac Brewery, which is the brewery's the most northerly brewery. And I have to admit, the beer is fantastic. It is a taste of the Arctic. So that's my recommendation, as is the beer on board the Viking Ocean ships. But that's my choice. I do quite like a gin and tonic now and again, but if I'm having a beer, definitely a beer in Tromsø is always very good. Where are we? Mitch in Arcadia, are boots provided for chasing the Northern Lights excursion? Generally, yes, and unless that's changed in the past year, we can certainly check that for you. But generally, sturdy boots or snow boots are generally included in really all of the Arctic Norway excursions that I've experienced. Where are we? I got Jonathan in the UK. Thanks for the email, Jonathan. I believe Dr. Crook mentioned you see a similar phenomenon in the Southern Hemisphere. Does Viking offer any itineraries to see these lights too? Not at the moment. You never know, watch this space, but not at the moment. So it's going to have to be the Northern Lights, Jonathan. So get booked up. Where are we? Sorry. Sorry. When I'm looking at my screen here, all the messages are just moving all over the place. So I go to start reading a message and then it disappears off my screen. So bear with me a second. I have to put my glasses on shortly. Here we go. Got Leslie in Ashford. Hi Neil, I realise there is no guarantee to see the Northern Lights, but how many opportunities do Viking passengers have to see them during one cruise? Are there overnight moorings? Are you in contact with experts who let you know the best places and predicted sighting areas? So really anything above the Arctic Circle is generally the best place to try and see the Northern Lights, Leslie. And the overnight moorings, you've got Alta overnight, and you've also got Tromsø overnight. So there's loads of opportunities there as well. And although the ship is on a schedule, you know, and we have to get to a certain port by a certain time, and November to March, but January to March are my preferences to try and see the lights. So we can't really change the schedule of the ship, but we use local experts, we use local guides that know the area really well. And, you know, 9 times out of 10, they've got a good inclination if the lights are going to come out or not. So a lot of the time when you're on these excursions, you're actually guided by the tour guides that you're traveling with, really. Got Kelly in Thunder Bay, and I've answered this question, Kelly, but it says, when is the best time of the year to experience this phenomenon aboard one of your cruises? They say November to March, but January to March is in my opinion a nice time to actually to travel up there, really, because you're chasing the light, but you're also chasing the daylight, because the daylight, January, February, March, the nights are, the days are getting longer. But I wanted to highlight Thunder Bay because our expedition ships will be operating into Thunder Bay in Canada in the not too distant future, so keep an eye out for them. Where are we? Got Nancy over in the US. So what are the cruise dates to see the Northern Lights? But do you have any cruises that cover all? Sorry, do you have any cruises to all the countries in the Baltic Sea? Our sort of flagship itinerary is Viking Homelands, and the Viking Homelands itinerary operates really from April through to September. It's a 14-night itinerary, and that gives you a really, really good opportunity to see the real Baltic. So you're visiting Bergen, you're visiting Tallinn, you're visiting Helsinki, you've got Copenhagen, and there as well you've got Stockholm. I mean, I was absolutely blown away by Stockholm. I'd never been to Sweden until 2 years ago, and we went to Stockholm in May, and it was fantastic. So if you're looking to experience the Baltic outside the winter months, have a look at the Viking Homelands cruise, which operates Bergen to Stockholm, or in reverse, Stockholm to Bergen. And as I said, when we were in Stockholm in May, must be 3 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, it was the first really sunny day of the season, and everybody was jumping in the fjord. So, expect to do that. Well, I'm not saying that's what you should do, but certainly Stockholm in May, when the sun was shining, everybody was certainly outdoors enjoying Scandinavian life. Right, where are we? Jim in Fort Worth, best time to go, March. I like March. I like January, February. March, the days are certainly getting lighter, and you've probably got a bit more daylight there. But January, February is you know, it's not to be sniffed at either. It's a nice time to go. Different type of light, but it's certainly a nice time to go. Where are we? Sorry. Got Sue over in Franklin that we're already booked on Search of the Northern Lights for January 2022, and you can't wait. Well, I can't wait for you either, Sue. I wish I was going on the Northern Lights. In fact, you know, it's January. We should actually really be up in the Northern Lights now. It's the prime time, but we're going to have to wait till next year, I'm afraid. January to March next year. Where are we? Sorry, sorry. Got Barry in Sarasota. Is the cable car in Bergen open in the winter? I'd have to check that out, Barry, actually. I know the funicular railway is when you got to the top of Mount Floyne. For the cable car, I'll have to double check that. But we'll get one of the experts behind the scenes to look into that for you. I'm pretty sure it is subject to weather conditions, but I'll get that 100% checked out for you. Where are we? It's apologies for this. Sorry, the screen's moving about. Where are we? Got one from Jeanette over in the States. Planning on booking in Search of the Northern Lights. 2 questions. Are the optional excursions to see the Northern Lights in complete darkness, except of course for the streaks of light, to plan for packing? And approximately what is the nighttime temperature chill factor range? Actually, I can't remember if I've answered that, Jeanette. Apologies to everybody if I have. Yeah, it is dark. If you say you're doing dog sledging or snowmobiling, and the people that are guiding you have got these helmets on with the big shining torch lights to see in front of them, but it really is the darker the better to try and see the Northern Lights. But there's sort of sporadic bits of light around when you're doing sort of dog sledging or snowmobiling to light up the area. But as I said, there's this sort of Arctic light, as you call it. And in terms of temperature above the Arctic Circle, I mean, it can vary. It's -5 upwards, really. But remember, that's in contrast to the south, Bergen, Stavanger. Right. Where are we? Where are we? Sorry. I think that's most of the questions that I can see, actually. Here we go, further down. If you can bear with me just a little while longer, I'll try and answer a few more of your questions. Oh, it's escaped from my screen again. We've got James and Heather behind the scenes controlling this, so I'm going to have to speak to them after this is finished, actually, to find out what's happening, but it's all good. Right. Got one here. Will January 2022 be the first sailing for Viking Venus on this cruise? Yes, it will. Scheduled to at the moment, the Viking Venus is scheduled to operate the Northern Lights cruise from January. So to answer your question, it will indeed. They've got, you know, there's a couple of questions coming up about onboard protocols. I would just say refer you to the website Viking.com, and it's got all the information up there for you to have a look at. How do we dry out our winter clothes after using them? That's an interesting question, Carol, in Burlington in the States. How do we dry our winter clothes after using them? So when you're on the excursions, you'll find that you've got a lot of the winter clothes included, which are really just, you know, handed back after the excursion's complete. And actually, your standard clothes that you're wearing underneath are pretty well kept bone dry. However, obviously, it's not always the case. We've got laundry facilities on board. You know, you've got the dryers, the free laundry actually on every deck. So that's one good option for you. Unique at Viking, we've got underfloor heating in the bathrooms, which keep your feet warm. And I'm sure if you put your socks there as well, they would heat up nice and toasty as well. So there's a few different options, but the free laundry on board is very, very good. Where are we? Sorry. Got one here from Tamra in Indianapolis. If there is no snow in the port where you can visit the sled dogs, do they have wheeled sleds so you can still experience a ride? You know, Tamra, I've been quite fortunate that every time I've been up to Norway, it's been snowing, and I've had the opportunity to, if I was taking part in one of the dog sledging, then I've had snow to use it. I don't know the answer to that question actually, but we will find out for you, and we'll certainly try and answer that. I do know that if you, or you know, what's happened in the past, if you sometimes you know, if you go to where some of the dog sledging takes place, for example, and you can't dog sledge, you can still meet the huskies, and that's a brilliant experience. You never want to leave these centres because the huskies are just absolutely out of this world. They're cute, cuddly, everything that you could think a husky would be. So, you know, if there is no snow, then I'm sure there might be a few different options to be arranged, but you know, touch wood, have been quite fortunate in the past. Will our will our outdoor excursions bring us near polar bear areas? No, not on the Northern Lights cruise. You know, if you are looking for polar bears, actually, just as an aside from the Northern Lights, so not really anything to do with this presentation, but our new expedition ship does the Arctic. It heads up to Svalbard, far north of Norway, and that is a fantastic opportunity to try and see polar bears. A good few years ago now, going back to, must be about 2005, I went up to Svalbard, and I was fortunate to see polar bears up there, and humpback whales and walrus. So if you're really interested in wildlife and seeing something completely different, then check out our expedition voyages that will start operating in the not too distant future on the Viking Octantis and Borealis. one from Kathleen in the States. Am I from Norway or another northern country? I'm from Scotland. So it's certainly north from where I'm sitting at the moment, which is in London. So it's a good 7-hour drive to the north. Not as far north as Norway, but it's certainly further north than where I am currently. Got one from Doug over in Canada. Is it likely that we will see the Northern Lights on any portion of our midnight sun cruise in June? You wouldn't see the Northern Lights. You know, I mean, the Northern Lights, to say in general, they're there all the time, but it's just in the darkness that you see them. But for when you're travelling in midnight sun in June, it's the midnight sun. So it's the other extreme to the Northern Lights, really, where when you're above the Arctic Circle, the sun never sets. But you know, I said on this presentation, when you're going in search of the Northern Lights, you never want to go to your bed. When you go into the midnight sun in the summer months, you never want to go to your bed either, because you can't believe that you're sitting on your veranda at 2 o'clock in the morning. It's blue skies, it's the sun's out. It's quite an unbelievable experience. You know, you go out on main deck, you go up onto deck 8, and you can sort of just be, you know, sitting there chatting with friends and colleagues, and the escape. Well, this actually happened, you know, a couple of years ago when we were on the midnight sun. We were up there chatting. We thought it was about 9 o'clock at night, and we looked at our watch, and it was 1:30 in the morning. So we thought it was time to go to bed. So midnight sun in the summer months, definitely recommend that cruise. Right. Any more? Let's have a look. There's a question from Judith over in the US. I saw a picture of someone kissing a wolf. Will we be able to do this? Well, in one of our excursions, you can visit with wolves, where these wolves have been, you know, sort of been close and brought up by humans. So you do get close to them. So that's one of our optional excursions that you can certainly take part in, Judith. Let's have a quick look. I think that is probably about them all. I'm just going to have another quick scan of the screen here to see if any other ones have come through, and then we'll see where we are. Does the ship have a telescope on board? Well, in a majority of the veranda staterooms, you've got your binoculars, of course, which are under the vanity unit in the main stateroom. Just lift up the hidden part of the desk, and you'll generally find a pair of binoculars in there. And then up on deck 8 in the Explorer's Lounge, and there's a telescope there. Christian over in Kansas, interested in seeing Belgium. How would I find a program like this? On a river cruise, we do a Holland and Belgium cruise. So if you go into Viking.com, you'll certainly find more information on that. Or if you call our contact centre, then we'll be able to help you out with some information on that cruise as well. Sorry. One in from Beth in the United States, travelling on Northern Lights in February 2022. How much daylight should we expect? Well, in the southern part of Norway, there's it's like a normal day in Europe. Actually, you get quite a lot of daylight actually in sort of Bergen, Stavanger area. Maybe light 8, 9ish in the morning until about 4 in the afternoon, and when it starts to get dark. So the southern part's fine, and depends when in February you're going. Later in February, the more light that you'll get above the Arctic Circle. So if it's early February, above the Arctic Circle, it will be obviously that bit darker. You'll still get daylight, and the later into February that you go, the lighter it actually gets. Please don't be put off by the perception that Norway in the winter time is dark 24 hours between January and March, and you're not going to see anything. Yes, it is dark above the Arctic, but it's a profound, sensational type of darkness where you have got these amazing lights coming out. So winter in Norway for me is one of the best experiences that you'll ever have in your life. Actually, I've got a message from Irene in Los Angeles. Notify me when it's about to start. We're nearly finished, Irene, but you can always log on to Viking.TV probably in maybe, I don't know, an hour or so's time, or certainly tomorrow, and you can have a look at the presentation on Viking.TV. I think so. From what I can see, I think that's most of the questions answered. I really sorry if I've missed any questions that have came through tonight. I've answered as many as I can, and from looking at the screen, I think that's a majority of them that I've managed to get. I know when we finish this presentation, I may find more lurking that I've not answered, and as I said, I'm sorry if I've not got around to answering them. But certainly from our, if you go into Viking.com, you've got lots of videos on there. It details the itinerary in full. You can always have another look at my presentation on Viking.TV. But within our contact centres or travel advisors, they're experts on the Viking product, and they're experts on the itinerary, and they will give you a recommendation that suits your needs and wants for when you want to travel. So pick up the phone, go online, find out the information, and hopefully all your questions will be answered. That is my presentation near enough done. So all I can really say is thanks very much for watching. Hopefully it's given you some inspiration or some information to help you plan your next holiday or vacation. As I said, for Northern Lights, we start sailing in January 2022, and we're on sale for January 2023 through to March in both years. So please have a good look and see if it's right for you. And if Norway in the winter isn't right for you, definitely consider Norway and Scandinavia in the summer, and maybe Viking shores and fjords, or into the midnight sun is a good option to look at. So thanks very much for joining me. Hopefully I'll see you again, and take care, and hopefully I'll see you on board soon. Thank you.